Alright guys, last video of the day on solving linear equations. I'm only going to do 4 questions on this one. So starting with this question right here, it says type the correct answers in each box, use numbers instead of words. If necessary, use the backslash for fraction bars. It says 1 yard company charges 10x plus 50 a month to mow and edge a lawn. A second company charges 8x plus 60 a month to mow and edge a lawn. Each company also offers additional services for an extra fee. Let X represent the number of additional services they would do. Mr. Mead is comparing the 2 companies, and he wants to know how many additional services would be needed for the 2 companies to be the same price. So what we are trying to figure out is what number X needs to be for these companies to be the same price. We know that same, we typically think of equal. So what we're going to do is we're going to look and we're going to find out when these 2 companies, how much services they would have to do in order for their cost to be the same. So we have one company that is 10x plus $50. And we're going to set that equal to our other company that is 8x plus $60. And we're just going to solve this equation. So I'm going to, similar to the last video, remind you how to solve an equation. So I'm going to get all of my variables on the same side. So what that means is I'm going to move this 8x over to the 10x. Now this is a positive 8x, so we're going to do the opposite, which is subtraction. And I'm going to do a minus 8x over here as well, because we have to do the same thing on both sides. Notice I lined it up where the other x's were, not with the 50. 8x minus 8x gets us down to 0 right there. 10x minus 8x gets us to 2x. So we have 2x plus 50 equals, and all we have left over here is a 60, because this came out to be 0, so I don't have to write that down. So this comes out to be 60. What we're going to do next, we want to get this variable by itself. We want to isolate it. So I'm going to get rid of this plus 50. Since that is a plus 50, to get rid of it, we're going to do the opposite, which is minus 50. 50 minus 50 gets us 0, which means I have a 2x left over here on this left-hand side. And on the right hand, we have 60 minus 50, which is just 10. Our final step, because I have 2 x's and I only want to know what 1x is, we're going to divide. 2 divided by 2 gets me to 1, and I have to do the same thing on the right-hand side of my equation. So this tells me that x equals 5. So what that means is that Mr. Mead would need 5 additional services for the companies to cost the same price. All right, question 3. Question 3 is a little bit of a bear. I'll show you why, and we'll talk about it in just a second. My advice to you, if you can, if the decimals are not repeating, I would turn these fractions into decimals. Now, the issue we're going to have is that this 1/12 is a repeating decimal. So I'm going to leave that alone for right now. But I'm going to turn this 15 over 4 into a decimal by just dividing it. So 15 divided by 4 is 3.75x minus 1/12. And again, I'm just going to leave that like it is for a second. Equals 7x. So here's my equation. I have to get all my x's on the same side. So I'm going to subtract off 3.75x on both sides. 3.75 minus 3.75 makes 0. So over on this left-hand side, I am stuck with negative 1/12. Over on the right-hand side, we're going to do 7 minus 3.75, which leaves us with 3.25x. Now, if I change this, again, if I change this into a decimal, it is 0.08333333, on and on and on. So I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do, because I only need to know what 1x is, is in my calculator, I'm going to go ahead and divide by 3.25. And I'm going to divide that whole fraction by 3.25. So if you have a calculator like this one, I'm going to show you how to do that really quickly. And I know it's getting a little, not blurry. So we have parentheses, -1 divided by 12. And I'm going to put that back in parentheses, divided by 3.25. And you'll get an answer. Now to change that back into a fraction, we're going to hit math, we're going to hit enter, and we're going to hit enter. So that tells me that my answer, x equals -1/39. All right, question 4. Another solving for x equation. So we have 3x equals -3x plus 36. I'm going to start by getting all of my variables over to one side. So I'm going to do the opposite of a -3x, which is plus 3x. So that will allow those to cancel out. That means I also have to do plus 3x on that side as well. So I have 6x equals -3x plus 3x made 0. So all I have left over here is the 36. I'm then, the last step, going to divide by this coefficient, this number out in front of our x, which is a 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 36 divided by 6 is 6. So x would have to equal 6. Now, a trick or a shortcut. If you can't remember how to solve equations, which happens sometimes, you can take these numbers and plug them into our equation and see if they work. So for example, if I chose the 8, 3 times 8 is 24. -3 times 8 is going to be -24. Plus 36 would give us a positive 12. 24 and 12 are not the same, so that 8 cannot be our answer. So you could also substitute these numbers in and see if any of those values would work for your equation. All right, last one, guys. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times, and I like to think of this as a -2. 2 times -2 is a -4. Equals -4x plus 44. We have to get all of our variables on the same side again. So this is a positive 2x. So I'm going to subtract 2x, which means I have to do that over here where my x is as well. Notice I still subtracted because you have to do the same thing on both sides. 2x minus 2x is 0. -4 equals, this is a -6x plus 44. I need to get this variable by itself. So the opposite of plus 44 is going to be minus 44. -4 minus 44 is -48. 44 minus 44 is going to make 0. My last step is going to be to divide by this number out in front of our variable, our coefficient. That is a -6. We need to divide by that -6. Don't lose your negatives. All right, -6 divided by a -6 gets us a positive 1x, which is what we wanted. -48 divided by -6 gets us a positive 8. There is your video refresher on solving linear equations. Good luck. Thanks.